welcome to Shonen Flop Chibi, a First Impressions mini-episode where we talk about the first chapter of the series that we'll be covering in depth next week. I'm Jordan, and with me today, as usual, is my lovely co-host, David. Say hi, David.
Hi, David.
Oh, hello. What series are we covering this week, David?
Oh, man, let's cut to the chase, because we were talking about Zan.
Oh, it might be a little hard to cut with his dull-ass sword.
Right? This dull-ass manga. This fucking sucked.
Dull, shitty scrap of a fucking manga. You know what, though?
What?
This guy can do worse.
He can, and he did.
Yeah, speaking of which, who is this guy?
This manga was created by Naoya Sugita. Naoya. Okay, now you.
Sugita. You want me to just do this part?
You're supposed to do this part. I don't know why you're asking me to do it.
All right, cool. Well, as we both know, this guy has done worse. This was written by Naoya Sugita. The run dates were between July 24th, 2006 to November 27th, 2006. So this is a little older.
Vintage.
Hey, you can tell.
Yeah. You don't have to be bad just because you're old. I'm rereading Yu Hakusho, which hasn't aged great, but it's a lot better than this, despite being 15 years older than this series.
You think that's impressive, David? I've literally been reading fucking Getter Robo. Aside from some very racist depiction of a black person, it's been pretty good.
I mean, what manga wasn't racist before, 2015?
Yeah, and this was the 70s. From what I've heard, that's kind of the only time in the manga that it's super racist, but it's not good. It is not a good drawing. But yeah, how long did this go? Because you did not put how many chapters or volumes the series went for, David.
Fuck me. Shows you how much I gave a shit about this series.
I don't blame you. We haven't mentioned it already, but this is the author of SWAT, which was previously one of the worst fucking manga we read on the show.
Yeah, it was 2 volumes and 18 chapters, by the way.
The U19 Club, there we go.
Oh, yes, very good, very good. This manga was before SWAT, so he hadn't even... This is where he applied his lessons to SWAT.
Man, I think he took the wrong lessons from this series.
You mean, I think he should have just not made manga. I kind of felt bad I said that to the Golem Hearts guy, but this guy, yeah, he's really bad.
Yeah, I mean, Dororon is better than Golem Hearts. There is improvement.
But it's not 5 years better.
No, absolutely not. But there is an improvement. Anyway, yeah.
That's how bad this is we want to talk about a mediocre manga instead.
There is so little to glom onto with this fucking thing, but I'll get into the fucking plot summary so you know, alright?
Do it, daddy.
Don't call me that. Anyway, it's an alternate universe where swords aren't banned. So everyone in Japan got swords now. And one kid named Murayama Zan has a dull practice sword called a Kenbuto. But actually, did you know that it's secretly the best kind of sword unless you suck? And Murayama thinks he sucks, but actually, believe it or not, he doesn't suck. He's got the Dunning-Kruger imposter syndrome going on there. But Murayama has a crush on this one girl named Tsukishima, but a creepy nerdy kid with swirly glasses named Kinoshita Shizuo tells him that he's got no chance. Then a big delinquent dude named Ushio lifts Murayama up by his collar like he's the fucking Undertaker, tosses him out of the classroom, and reveals that he has a cosplay replica of Sephiroth's blade Masamune from Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy VII, in particular. Tsukishima steps in to save Murayama, who doesn't even realize that he could just easily kick Ushio's ass. Ushio is a misogynist, and Tsukishima tells him to stop making fun of girls, and this will be the main thing she says for the rest of the chapter. Basically just that. Tsukishima then tells Murayama that since he's a weak baby, that she'll protect him, making him feel like a total beta male. Popcorn David.
Kinoshita then flops on the floor in front of Murayama.
He just fucking flops on it. He just falls out from the side of the bed.
Yeah.
It's actually good. I kind of liked it.
Yeah. In front of Murayama and tells him that she's got a boyfriend. Murayama sulks on the roof of the school from Persona 5 when Fuck, I hate this series. Why are all these names so complicated?
Tsukishima. You can do this.
Yeah, Tsukishima. And a random dude walks through. He assumes the guy is her boyfriend, but he gets hit on the head with a baseball and misses the reveal that he's a follower of Ushio and is issuing a challenge to her. I love how he's knocked unconscious for 8 hours and there's no repercussions and no one found this unconscious child on the roof. I feel like you would check the roof if a child is missing. That's just one of the places you would check.
David, we didn't know that concussions were bad for you until 2010.
Yeah, you're right. That's when we all got soft and we're fucking liberals can't handle long-term brain injuries.
Oh, look at this guy. Oh, he just had severe mental trauma that totally ruins his quality of life. Look at the baby.
Oh, he can't remember his children. What a loser. Oh, concussions are serious. Getting beaten in the head makes Murayama have a trauma flashback where a bully tells him he'll never be as cool as his dad, who was the best at using dull, shitty swords. Tsukishima confronts Ushio, but Ushio gets stabbed by that creepy incel Kenoshita, who is actually a twisted serial killer kid who believes that Tsukishima is his girlfriend.
Seriously?
Yeah, he's dark, twisted. You know, on the outside, I'm an angel. On the inside, I'm dark. This really is some DeviantArt shit.
No, David, this is fucking Jeff the Killer shit. This is like
Right?
creepypasta ass writing.
And he has to kill her because the author couldn't think of anything interesting. Murayama steps in and everyone cuts each other a bit until Murayama breaks Kenoshita's sword, winning the chapter. Then everyone is okay, including Ushio, who absolutely should be dead. Kenoshita vaguely disappeared, and Murayama starts to think that maybe he isn't a weak little piss baby. God, what a... This might... Jordan, if you don't mind, let me start our first impression by saying this may have been the worst first chapter of any manga I've ever read in my entire life.
Oh, I disagree. I don't think it's the worst. I think it sucks. But I mean, like, as I said, it's mildly better than SWAT. It's still terrible. Like, that is the lowest bar you can have, I think. Like, by saying it's not the worst chapter I ever read, please do not mistake that for me saying that this is even remotely good or even at all interesting.
Yeah. I thought about making one of my guesses, but I thought it'd be more fun to discuss this. I think this series will probably be a strong contender for something you can Riley method.
Yeah.
Where you read 1 in 4 chapters.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which, that was for Biichi, and this art style did remind me a lot of Biichi.
Oh, this and Biichi are definitely kindred spirits.
And, you know, to be fair, it's not entirely their fault. This was kind of the primary manga style for this time,
Yeah.
I think.
You mean, like, let's rip off Bleach as much as we can.
Oh, dude, this is like... I think that saying it looks like Bleach is, like, too much of a compliment.
Because SWAT 100% tried to look like Bleach.
Yes, 100% SWAT did, but you hit the nail on the head when you said DeviantArt, because that's what I think of when I see this style of drawing.
This and Biichi are like DeviantArt the manga.
Absolutely.
What is more DeviantArt?
Biichi is more DeviantArt.
That's fair. Understandable.
Just the subject matter of Biichi and all the weird stuff is 100% some stuff I would see if I just if I just searched around DeviantArt in like 2004.
Okay, and then, so Jordan, though, I know I have one positive note, but I'll start with you. What were the things you actually liked about this? Because you clearly liked it more than me.
It wasn't so much that I liked it. My main thing was that it didn't drag on as much as it could have. It was a relatively quick read, all things considering. And I don't think SWAT was. Yeah,
well, SWAT just made no fucking sense. This, I see where, like, because for context listeners, just because I have a trip, we are doing the main episode 2 days after the Chibi, which is unusual because we usually do a week later. But our guest, Maxie B, was like, I promise you can read the whole thing effortlessly in that, like, day you have. And this chapter took maybe, like, 5 minutes to read. So I feel pretty good what he's saying that we can just knock the whole thing out probably an hour.
Well, SWAT's main thing is that it was, like, impossible to follow, and just, like, you couldn't pick up on anything, so you didn't pick up on anything. At least, and you know what? Zahn may turn out to be like that. But from the first chapter, my main thing is, like, I'm picking up what's happening. It's just boring. I also love how they constantly mention over and all, like, every single time he mentions that he's got, like, this dull, awful, like, training sword, everyone's like, he's got the sword with no edge. That means that he's either really fucking shitty or a total master with no in between.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Also, this is kind of ripping off, wasn't that like one of the shticks of Rurouni Kenshin where he had like an unsharpened blade?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
No, it's actually ripping off Rurouni Kenshin more than you think, because one of the characters, Zanosuke, has a Zanbato, which the whole thing is that it is a really big, heavy sword with, like, no edge that you can use to just, like, smash things. So he's literally using one of the weapons from Rurouni Kenshin.
I remember that guy.
Yeah, although in Rurouni Kenshin, that was a fucking massive sword, and this is just, like, a slightly bigger and thicker sword.
But yeah, so though, speaking of swords, that was actually what I liked the most, was I think that this premise is actually completely ridiculous, and I think a good author could have had a lot of fun with. What if everyone was a fucking master, and that's how all issues were resolved by sword fighting in just ridiculous ways?
It was interesting to read given the current political context around gun control in America. It felt kind of quaint. Like, you're reading it and it's like, oh, they just got swords. Oh,
You can just tell the writer wasn't very smart based on the things they felt they need to explain. Like, he explicitly says, people usually use sharp swords. Like, yes, that's the point.
No shit!
They were like, beginners and masters both use sharp swords. Like, you don't stop using a sharp sword. That's the point of a sword. You're like, most beginners use guns that fire bullets.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not in the Gunblaze West universe.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if that's true, David.
And speaking of Gunblaze West, you know what's a big problem with the setting of this, Jordan? Is if you get cut by a sword, you probably are going to die. So how the fuck are you going to make a series where everyone should die after every fight?
When kids should die after a fight. One of the first things that happens is that some bully, and these are just like fucking teenagers, gets into a sword fight with the main character who cuts him, and the bully is shocked that he's not dead. Like, dude, what is this fucking hellscape world that you guys live? I mean, they live in America. Ooh.
Aww.
Or even just the fact that that one dude, that creepy, twisted, black-pilled incel dude, like, absolutely stabs a kid through the chest. Like, you see the sword come through his chest. That is not a wound that you recover from. That is not a wound that you stay alive for very long after getting. That is a wound you die from immediately.
Yeah, you know what they say about knife fights, Jordan?
They finish last?
No, the loser dies in the street, the winner dies in the ambulance.
I've never heard that, but
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. I just invented that. It's very clever.
Oh, cool.
No.
There you go.
Yeah. Also, the author couldn't draw swords, which, given this is the point, like, if you notice, the perspectives are absolutely terrible on these swords.
This is not some very good drawing.
You would think, like, he would have, like, just spent, like, hours drawing swords, and that's why he made the series, but
No.
I could probably draw the swords better than him. Like, the sword length is very inconsistent. Oh, and that reminds me of the last thing is, this is probably the laziest paneling I've ever seen in my entire life. Every single panel is just kind of like a set grid.
I didn't, but that's really funny.
No one breaks through their panels. Every panel is square. Like, yeah, I know it was harder in 2005, but, like, Yu Yu Hakusho has unusually shaped panels, and that was definitely before they had computer assistants.
Dude, you should see the paneling in Get a Robo. No, absolutely not. It wasn't like, oh man, yeah, nobody knew how to make interesting panels until 2010. Like, no, like, there have been interesting paneling in comics for, like, over 50 years at that point. There's no excuse. He was just bad.
Yeah, this is just a fucking mess.
Yeah, also, last thing, the girl in this chapter, I mentioned it in the plot summary, but her dialogue pretty much solely consists of her going, "Stop making fun of girls. I'm going to show you that girls are strong.
Yeah.
Girls aren't weak." And then the chapter ends with the main character saving her life. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the series is super sexist. Though, Jordan, I can think of one scene. If the series does it, I will say it's the best manga I've ever read. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
What if they don't have any knives that aren't long swords? So, like, you see someone, like, chopping the cucumber with a katana, because that's all they have.
Okay, that would rule. Like, if it was just a fully sword-obsessed society, that would be cool, but there's no way that's what this manga is doing.
The right author could have made this actually a really cool premise, where it's just, what if every gun was a sword?
Yeah, yeah.
I could see that as like a 6-issue series. Luke, you comic master, you should write it.
He picks up a fucking fork and it's just like a katana with 3 swords.
Yeah, it's just 3 small knives attached to it.
3 tiny little katana.
Oh, they don't have spoons. They have to eat soup with their hands. Oh, we're gonna be like, man, that premise was so fun, and forget that the manga itself was really bad.
In about a year, you bring it up and we're gonna be like, oh, Zon, that's the manga where everyone was obsessed by swords and stuff. And it was like, no, that was the more interesting version you thought of. But David, would you read another 10 chapters of
Fuck
Zon?
no.
Absolutely not. Me neither. This sucks.
I'm glad our guest picked this so we don't have to apologize. Maxie B, we're going to talk about why you wanted to read this.
Yeah, we're gonna make fun of you.
All right.
It's okay. Whatever.
Oh, yeah. I think this was the quickest I will not keep reading this I've ever had in my entire life. I feel like this is like, you're going to be like, I give it like a bottom D tier. But like, this is FF because you just seem to like it more than me. But yeah. So Jordan, what else do you want to talk about, bud?
Yeah, well, I was just wondering, Dave, what do you think is going to happen next?
So here are my guesses. There will be an ultra important character that dual wields swords, because they have to happen at some point. The crazy serial killer guy will be accepted as a member of the group without acknowledging how fucked up a person he is. Because I always found that was like, especially that was like a trope in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where they never really, like, they just kind of ignore the fucked up things they do sometimes. And then the series will shit on guns at some point. So like, imagine someone has like a gun and tries shooting you, like, deflects it. And he's like, guns are nothing compared to the might of like cold samurai steel or some bullshit like that, even though it doesn't make sense.
Someone pulls out a gun and they're like, that's the
Weakling.
weapon of a coward.
Exactly. So they're gonna shit on guns and like that.
Oh man, I would love it if someone pulled out a revolver and just fired a katana from it.
Yeah, the gun.
No, that would be the sword gun.
Yeah.
The gun is different. The gun shoots guns, you know?
Fine.
Yeah.
Especially because this author didn't put like a bunch of references to famous swords on purpose. I mean, I'm sure he stole a bunch of designs.
Well, Dazan is like well known in Japanese culture.
If Guts' sword doesn't show up, I will be very disappointed.
Well, I'll get into one of my guesses.
Okay, go for it.
So here are my guesses. Ushio becomes a member of their dumb fucking group, you know, like that big douchey delinquent dude. I don't think the serial killer kid is coming back. There was so nothing to him. Like, the author literally ended it with the main character going, that kid just randomly disappeared for no reason. Like, okay, well, I think Ushio's gonna come back because he's one of 3 characters that got any attention paid to him. The next one is Tsukishima will continue to say that girls shouldn't be seen as weak while constantly getting her life saved by Murayama. Mm-hmm. So I already pointed out, it was fucking... Ugh.
Yeah.
Also, Murayama's sword gets thick.
What do you mean by that?
Like a buster sword.
Oh, okay.
Because again, every depiction of the Zanbato that I've seen in other media, it is a big, thick sword. It is Guts' sword. That is the sword that Guts has. It is based on the Zan.
That makes sense. All right. But Jordan, though, what is your power word?
I got really fucking pissed at you, David, so why don't you say your power word first?
Yeah, I decided to go with the low-hanging fruit, much like this author did. I went with dull.
You motherfucker, that was my choice.
Yeah, I know it was.
So I just went with scrap instead.
That's fair. I think ours are pretty obvious why we picked those. So should we go into some Q&A, Jordan?
Yeah, let's do it.
So time for Q&A. Just a reminder, you can post your comments in the designated channel in the Discord. Always give priority to our patrons and people that either haven't asked a question before or haven't had their question answered in a few months. So let's start things off with a first-time asker, Happy 123 Boy. Does Jordan sing the opening song for Shonen Flop? No, I actually do it.
Yeah, that's true, David. No, it is me.
No,
I'm doing my rock and roll voice, you know? Friendship power flop! My power metal voice, yeah.
Maybe actually for the Patreon shout out, you should just sing it.
Friendship power flop!
All right. Next from the Stone Hermit. Have you two ever thought of doing a special event or even writing a book on what makes a shonen manga a flop? That's a good question. I guess I'd have to think about it. It's a cool idea if we could really distill like the easy trappings and stuff. I feel like I'd want more experience actually making quality stuff because it's easy to criticize without... I mean, technically I am a mangaka, as Jordan knows. Thank you, basketball grandma. But I feel that is not sufficient enough manga making experience to probably write a book on how to make good manga.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, Alan Moore apparently said, instead of trying to remake things that are good, you should look at things that are bad and see if you can do them better.
Like this premise.
I guess that is literally what Watchmen was, huh?
Yeah.
Huh, there you go.
Next from T-Root, who would kill who first, Kuro-sensei or Mr. Sakamoto?
Is Koro...
That's from Assassination Classroom.
Oh, well, then I can't comment on this because I haven't read Assassination Classroom.
I can because it is not even fair. Kuro-sensei can move at like Mach 10, and while Sakamoto is fast, he is technically a human, while Kuro-sensei is not and is functionally immortal to a lot of the ways that Sakamoto would be able to kill him. This is like saying, who would win in a fight, Daredevil or Superman? Like...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame because Sakamoto is such a good guy.
It's such a great manga. Next question from Scott. What is a question you wish we could ask you?
I would like for you to ask me what my PayPal is so that you can send me a ton of money.
Yes. I wish more people would ask, how can we financially help the show? So we could say,
yes, exactly.
Become a patron.
How much money would you like me to give you? I would love to hear that.
And Scott is a patron, by the way, so we're not calling him out.
Yes.
I just want to say so. Thank you for being a patron. Next up, we have from Albie. Which adjective are you most likely to use? Crummy, cruddy, or crap?
Crappy.
Yeah, I would say crap. Because I remember it was a big deal in the the Funimation dub of One Piece where they would say crappy. And I was like, oh, he almost said a bad word.
Oh, man, they used a word that's bad if you're 3 years old.
Yeah. Okay. Was there something else you wanted to add to that, Jordan?
No.
So, Albie has another question. You ask, who are you going to call?
Your mom.
Oh, I was going to say my friend.
Because she runs the Ghostbusters.
Oh, because she's so fat, she transcends physical manifestations of planar boundaries. Oh.
Because she's so fat, she died.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're going to call Joe.
I'm not answering that, David. I know you're gonna do Joe Mama. I get it. Yeah.
Why won't you let me have this? I have so little.
I let you have too many goddamn jokes, David.
Too many jokes. Right. I don't have any jokes. They're not funny. Jokes. It takes a lot to make a joke. Lots of love and laughter too.
So, David, if the fourth horseman of the manga apocalypse is cancellation,
you gotta say who it's from.
Who would the other three horsemen be? That was a question by OzyRat. See, David, I did say.
All right, one of them is whatchamacallit. What is it called?
I actually wrote my own answers to this. Would you like me to tell you who the four horsemen of the manga apocalypse are?
Yeah, this is a level of preparation I've never seen from you before.
I know. So the first one is cancellation, obviously. The second one is examination.
Yes, that's why I was saying exam arc, yeah.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew that was the first what you were going to do. The third one is novelization, and by that I mean just wordiness.
Yep.
And then the fourth one is child predation.
I like it. I think instead of novelization, I would say explanation, which I think that's a part of where they over-explain things.
Or exposition. You know, it's like how people always disagree on what the actual four horsemen of the apocalypse are. There's like 5 different answers. So this is just like that.
Yeah, listeners, be sure to submit yours, but I think cancellation 100%.
Yeah.
Exam arc is also... It's like... Your list always has war indefinite, so exam arc is the war of the cancellation, where it's really only the 2 other ones you have room for consideration.
If you asked me this question 20 years ago, then maybe instead of... First of all, I would be a young child and have no clue about any of this, but if I time traveled back then, I would have said maybe instead of an examination arc, it was the tournament arc. But you don't see that many tournament arcs anymore because they just do exam arcs instead.
Some do both.
Some do both, that's true.
Actually, Yu Yu Hakusho did an exam arc and a tournament arc.
Yeah, but Yu Yu Hakusho was over 20 years ago, which is which is my whole point.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be that that's what they did, and then I guess maybe Naruto came out and they were like, oh, we could just do exam arcs!
Yeah. There are some good manga, though, that have both.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, like Jujutsu Kaisen technically in a tournament arc right now, if you want to consider it that way.
Hunter x Hunter. It has an exam arc followed by a tournament arc. And it's still one of the best manga/anime ever. Yeah. So, I mean...
Yes.
So maybe it's just Tagashi can do this. I don't know.
If you're good at writing, you can make anything work. Didn't Alan Moore, took up Swamp Thing just to be like, I can make Swamp Thing interesting just for the challenge of it?
I truly believe that it is possible to do literally any kind of idea or premise in fiction if you know what you're doing. It's just, it's very hard to do that. The reason why we point out tournament arcs and exam arcs is not because they're inherently bad, it's because they're done so much by people who don't understand them, and they're so common.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, but I think enough about that tangent, Jordan. You ready to go to shoutouts?
Yes, I am.
All right, so moving into shoutouts, I want to start by saying, Jordan, thank you so much for editing the Chibi episodes.
You're so welcome.
I also want to give props to Shannon for the awesome cover art. You can find her online at illuminyatea. Thank you, Dylan, for assistance with editing. You can find his podcast at Anime Out of Context at animeoutofcontext.com. Thanks to Tucker for assistance with pronunciation, translation, and other miscellaneous research. Thanks to T-Root, OzyRat, and TWolfwood for being our awesome transcription volunteers. You can find them on our site as they become available. Jordan, is there anything you want to add to that?
I would like to thank you, David, for everything you do, for editing the main episode. Thank you for being a friend!
Oh, you.
Yeah, okay.
All right. And you can find us on Twitter at ShonenFlopcast and our website, ShonenFlop.com. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcast. And if you're not in it, as we mentioned, join the Shonen Flop Discord. It's open to everyone, Patreon or not. Come hang out with us, talk about anime games or whatever else is on your mind. Also have a monthly movie night. You can find a link to it in the show notes or on our website. And if you're enjoying the podcast and want to help us keep going, consider subscribing to our Patreon. We have a ton of awesome perks like bonus episodes on Manga-chan, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, Witch Watch, and PPPPP, which we can no longer cover on this series because it has run too long. So now I unironically have to try and read it.
I was telling David I did a complete 180. I now think that it's actually drawn very well.
Nice. But yeah, you can even be listening to us record. And of course, it still helps us meet our next Patreon goal, where we'll be able to have more editing time from Dylan. But on that note of patrons, I want to read some of our awesome patrons off. Starting with our lovely Chainsaw Man, we have Pterodactyl Ghosts and Snorting Coke off of Rem's Bodacious Booty Wall Street style. Moving down to the Dolphin Parent, we have Tracking Roving Animals for All Loving Girls and Raccoons Wolfwood. Going down to the King of the Force, we have Albie, Cram, Gabe Lando, Jacob, Andrew Galloway, Josh Robinson, Marty, Rachel, my lovely girlfriend. I hope you have a great time on your trip. Scarlett Myrmidon, Solomon Martinez, T, the BB King, BB the.
Yeah.
Moving on down to the Galactic Ball Federation officers, we have Blah Mumu, BS, Dolphin, Dylan Crider, Eric Alex Klein, Generic Man, Hans, Hey You, Slob on My... No, I'm not reading all that. Kylie Denton, Lincoln Frey, our latest patron, Marabara, Matthew Solovich, Mike Carpenter, Sarah Hydra, Shingyo, Sekimoto, Silly Rookie, Simping for Senpai Ash, Staghorn, That One Welder Guy, Trevor Schechner, and Yaji Black. Thank you all so much for your awesome support. Really couldn't do the show without our wonderful patrons.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You mean a lot to us. You love us. You really love us. Oh, you're so beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Anyway, are we going to do that every time?
It's
you know,
true.
we did this last... You're beautiful!
I don't know.
That's true!
All right.
That guy, whatever.
Anything else, bud?
No.
Tune in next Monday for our full episode on Zahn with our guest, Maxie B.
Oh, yeah.
Zahn, for your pleasure.
All right, anyway, whatever. You've been listening to Shonen Flop. This has been Jordan.
This has been David.
And now, David, you have to fucking say it.
Keep on flopping, floppers.
Exactly. Bye.
Bye.